How's it going?
How you doing, man?
Doing great. Everything going your way?
Everything's going my way. Everything's going the way.
Good.
What's up?
I am trying to. They have this set to where you have to make it record. I can't set it to record just you until I come on because I shoot this on a green screen. So I get
All right,
this.
whatever you need.
This footage is just gonna be for you, and then I'm on a green screen. I'm gonna like put us, in a city or in the sewer or something cool. So hold on, let me see here. I'm making you the host. Okay, got it. Okay, so yeah, try not to take too long. I'm really excited about you coming on, though. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I like that. Is that your logo?
Yeah. Okay. So I love movies like a lot, and during the pandemic, I made my own movie, and I played every character and shot it on a green screen. And I'm still in the process of completing it because I was hoping to get it to feature length. But I kept thinking of things I want to do, and I shoot 1 minute a week, and now it's like
great.
2.5 hours
cool.
long.
I get it. That's awesome. Yeah. Cool.
Do what?
Huh? That's cool,
breaking
man. I dig when I hear people, trying to make stuff, and it's great.
Yeah, this is one of the characters. This name is Baby Happy Toast. He's a magic piece of toast that's alive. He's like my sidekick.
That's amazing.
It's a sci-fi movie, and it's very out there, which you wouldn't think one person would do a lot of special effects by themselves, but it's a very effect-heavy film.
That's great. That's awesome. Cool.
He's like a puppet. He's kind of like a puppet.
I want one of those hats. Where can I get one of those hats? Do you have a website I can go on there?
I do. I have a company that makes them for me called Ramicus.com. I'll send you some links.
Send me a text.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've been merchandising everything. See, I got the jacket, the hat.
Yeah, I want the hat. I'm gonna get that one. All right, cool.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and get started. So we're just gonna come on because you're gonna come on a old beat up TV or something. So we'll just hey, how you doing? And then we'll jump into it.
All right.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Right. Let's go. Hey, Mr. Tilden, how you doing?
I'm good. What's happening?
I've just been super excited about talking to you. There's a lot of very interesting stuff that I've been wondering about Ninja Turtles. I've been watching all the movies. I watched them back to back to back. And I really love them. I love them just as much now as I did, probably more than when I was a little kid. They're really incredible. Very cool.
Well, I think they were such a feat, to make. It was such a it's like it was a very weird time because if you remember, it's like right at the end of sort of practical, puppets before they went right into CGI, so Dark Crystal and Labyrinth sort of made this kind of stuff famous, or mechanical line. Yoda is a real puppet with mechanics to move the eyeballs, and the Ninja Turtles when they made the early 90s is right on the edge of where they just why are we doing this practically? We're just create a digital version, and that's 10 years before, I think it was 2001 where they made this dramatic shift in filmmaking from film to digital. So it's a very strange time. It's kind of a miracle that those movies were made, you know. So
Yeah. I often wonder if that had not happened and they had put all that energy into puppets and like real life stuff, where we would be with like that kind of stuff now. If they'd put all that CGI energy into that type of thing, you know?
yeah, I mean,
No
I don't.
telling.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's I'm so old school with that. I just appreciate. There's just so many things you can't substitute organic performance. And like Frank Oz, who did Yoda, he's that Jim Henson, these puppeteers, just to name two. This because we're in the Muppet realm when we're talking the Ninja Turtles, because the Muppet, the Henson Creature Shop designed these turtles, right? So they had a big say into how they're performed and look and created. So in this realm of the Muppets, because there's a universe of puppetry, Banraku in Japan, and I mean, come on, like the history of puppets is not just the Muppets, but in this sort of round, this bubble of the Muppets, those talents like Jim Henson and Frank Oz, that's like Brando and James Dean, Yo-Yo Ma of puppetry is, Frank Oz, like that skill that he has to bring Yoda alive. You just can't replace it just with like making a digital version. I mean, there's something that's lost, and it's not saying anything like those people that are working in that world of CGI and creating digital characters, like those people are talented, I'm sure. What they're doing, it's kind of like comparing oils and acrylics, but the Yoda as an example, those characters in Dark Crystal, that's a skill, that's organic, that's performing, that's reacting, improvisation, breath, listening, awareness, mindfulness, that it's real, it's like, it's bringing something, just the art form of bringing an object to life. Just that process is magical, and it is completely different than some CGI art form. It's just, I'm not trying to say one is better than the other. I personally believe, I personally prefer something like of that nature. It's amazing hanging out with those puppeteers, they can bring anything to life. Those guys from Sesame Street, they just have this ability to pick up a plate and make you believe it's an elephant. Like it's amazing what they do, and that talent is like it's almost magical. So I prefer that. And so the Ninja Turtles, I think, when we made those films, it was coming from that place. You have a puppeteer that's working the mouth and the eyes, and me, the performer inside the suit, and you're working with these other tandems. Michelangelo is a performer working with his puppeteer, and that puppeteer is working with my puppeteer, and I'm reacting with the guy that's playing Michelangelo, but we all have to work together as a foursome. And if you add two other turtles, now you have like 8 people, working together, listening, and and trying to create. It's just a moment on screen. It's a process. That's not just some guy or people in their room of computers and, you know, CGI programs. It's a different deal, you know, it's a different deal. So, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but you know.
No, I agree. I mean, it's all like you're all parts of a one body trying to make everything work just right. And you did. Like, it's so crazy. That's one of the things I was going to ask you about is like, how do you project? So you're in the suit, you have.
But it's not just what we're doing. It's not just what we're doing. It's the environment we're in. And those guys that created the sewers, you know, the guys that created those props and the people that are giving us, you know, ninja philosophy and ninja moves and you know, and those filmmakers, the director and his direction of like how to move and where to hit your mark. And, you know, it's such a collaborative, you know, I've done movies where you have, you know, where you're with just actors, you know, and humans working with humans. And it's just, you know, there's something unavoidably narcissistic about that type of work. Not to degrade it or something, but like in this kind of work, there's no narcissism because no one can see you. In fact, there's the opposite, you know, like you're just dying to be seen, you know, you're dying, you know, you're just, you know, you're kind of hungry and thirsty to just someone to hear you. And so you kind of, to survive, what you get off on is purely the collaboration of many, many people.
Right.
Now it's the cameraman, the people behind the camera are selling the idea that your Ninja Turtle is real with their camera angles. You know, everyone, right. The people that design the sets are selling the idea that these Ninja Turtles are real. And how we walk along in the sewer, we're selling the idea that the sewer is real. You know, and every aspect, it's just, it's amazing. I think it was amazing because, especially at a young age that I was, is because it's such a great exercise for artists and actors, because it really is it is nothing about you. It's about it's about the act of creating and collaborating. Right. You know, and it's almost like a quote that I love is like something it's what is it? I'm paraphrasing, but it's like dance as if no one is watching. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's you know, and you know, just like you're talking about making this movie just, you know, by yourself. It was kind of like, it has a sort of a feeling of that. You're when I was working on this, it's not about me, it's about it. You know, and there's something lonely about it. You know, all these lonely artists that no one can see. The puppeteers are behind camera. You know, we're in a suit. You know, the production designer's not seen. It's just what he made that you're in. Everyone's unseen, and everyone's trying to make something that is seen. I don't know if that makes, I mean, you know, sounding like I just smoked pot, but you know. But you know what I mean? So you know, it's you know, it is such a very, you know, it's a very artistic, and it's not the only, you know, it's like I'm not setting the Ninja Turtle movies apart from anything else. I mean, but I think it's in the realm, when I think of a genre, I don't think of these Marvel movies and these superhero movies. It's in the genre of that old school, like Dark Crystal and Labyrinth and Never Ending Story. And, you know what I'm saying, you know? Yeah,
it's more like an art project that's alive, basically.
Yeah.
Getting a look at all these people's strictly art, basically. It's almost like cartoon, not a cartoon, but like that's the art is on the screen like a cartoon. You know, it's just the collection of all these different people gluing their art together. It was
and
good.
it's like, and there is no formula to this, right? I mean, it was very young. It was a very small window that this type of work happened, because then, you know, the evolution of filmmaking sped up really fast in the 90s, where suddenly now, like, we don't have to do this. We can, you know, like, they even stopped having real Yoda in the Star Wars movies, and suddenly, like, Yoda was digitized, you know, and it was just like, you know, look what happened in the Ninja Turtles. The last three, they're animated. You know, we don't have to do it this way, you know. But it was like, it wasn't like this type of work went back to the 20s. Like, it was like a 70s, 80s kind of thing, you know.
Mhm.
You know, it was a very small window. So there was no formula when we, you know, how to do this. And that was exciting too, because when I landed in London for the first fittings, and then went to North Carolina to film this whole kind of energy is like, you know, how are we going to do this? You know, it was like all these questions, and we had all this rehearsal period where we were exploring, investigating. You know, it wasn't like there wasn't a manual that we're just following. You know, nobody, you know, the director, the cinematographer, we were all, you know, the performers, the puppeteers, we were trying to figure it out together. And that to me was the most exciting thing about it, you know, is this, how do we do this? How are we going to bring these characters to life? How are we going to tell this story? You know, and the Creature Shop people that made these costumes, you know, they're like these kind of, you know, on the spectrum, you know, puppet makers, you know, like there's genius kind of, and, you know, they really passionate about, you know, I mean, those guys that made those characters on Dark Crystal, those are super talented dudes and gals, you know, and,
Yeah,
and,
no doubt.
you know, they made like the first Batman suit with the ribs and the, you know, the Creature Shop made the first Batman costume.
Really?
I knew that, yeah. And so, and like these guys are just amazing, and sculptors and idea realists. You know, they take ideas and they make them so that you can touch them. You know, they take an idea and they make it physical in the, you know, and they're just amazing. And this is just, you know, just an incredible sort of window into a particular type of art form that I was exposed to, you know.
Yeah, it's so good. Those suits are so cool. Like I like to just look at them. Like they're just
But like so much work,
you know,
so much
so cool.
And sorry to cut you off, but like I totally remember what I was trying to say is like these guys in the Creature Shop that made these suits while we were filming, they were constantly, they just didn't make them and ship them off. They were with us and they were tweaking them and helping based on our performance and how it was being directed and how the story was being told. They were constantly tweaking the heads and the eyes and the suits, you know, so that, you know, the way we were bending our arms and our fingers, and they would tweak something else in there, paint it in a different way and shade it, you know, so that everyone was constantly involved in the challenge of making these creatures believable.
Yeah.
You know, it was immense amount of people involved. You know, so when I give these interviews, we talk about, oh, hey, Ninja Turtles. Like, I just think of the entire collaborative team that involved like 100 people. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Just the texture of them, like whatever. I guess it was silicone or whatever.
They called it neoprene.
Neoprene. It was very. It looked like squishy. Like I don't know. It looked how.
You know what exactly what it is.
It's like you want to squish it.
Well, it's exactly what it is what, you know, a Nerf football is made out of.
Really?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
It's like they use that. That's the chemical. That's the, you know, that they use, and instead of putting it in a Nerf football mold, you know, they put it in molds of these muscular arms and legs and you know, when a Nerf football you get if you drop it in the pool, you know, the weight of it is like it gets 10 times heavier. That's what would happen to us when we sweat into it.
Ooh, you were in the water too in some of the shots. I thought about that.
Were we in the water?
In part 2, in the very end when you're under the dock.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Were we actually in water though? I don't know. I forget.
You seemed like, you looked like you were. It seemed like you were. Yeah. No, because y'all were floating, remember? Because you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Was that a different kind of suit for that? Or
no, it was the same thing. Yeah, they didn't make like it. Yeah.
Good grief. How did you get into that? How did you get this part? And how did they pick you?
I was asked to try out for it.
Why you?
Huh? What's that?
Why you? Like, did you have some sort of
why
abilities
you?
with this type of stuff?
I should make a T-shirt that says "Why you." I guess it's because of, you know, I mean, my size, you know, 5'4", and they wanted guys that had that height. So that was a prerequisite. You know, I did a lot of physical performance doing experimental theater in New York and dance, you know, and I loved, you know, I sort of worshiped Buster Keaton, you know, and I kind of had this, you know what I mean? So I had this sort of like, I had a lot of physical acting background behind me, you know. So, you know, I'm just like a physical guy, period, you know. So, and when I was in my 20s, I had, you know, I had a lot of energy but also like I collected comic books, you know.
Oh, so you knew about this.
Dude, like my dad was giving me comic books. My mother died when I was like 7, and it was kind of traumatizing. And my dad would visit me at school and bring me a comic book and a sandwich. And this is 1971. So I was collecting comics in the early 70s. So you can imagine what my comic book collection was like, you know.
Yeah, amazing. I collect that type of stuff too. So that, yeah.
So like, and I was a huge comic book. I was like a huge, you know, I thought Iron Man should be a movie like in 1985, you know, like I was, you know, but I was disappointed with Iron Man because when you remember like the original Iron Man, like he was an alcoholic, you know, he was like,
right.
He was like Bukowski, you know, like, you know, it was more, you know, those early comic books, you know, it was dirtier, it was more gritty, and, you know, but I think like with the Batman stuff, like they've gotten a little dark with it, you know.
They're getting there.
They're getting there, but like, you know, the guy that, you know, the Superman, you know, his origin, like that was traumatized. Like he lost an entire planet, you know, not just his mother and father. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just, if you think about it, those comic books were like, they were those early, you know, startling, you know, those comic books were intense for kids. You know, you really are learning about life and stuff, you know. So
yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Like that was a question I was going to ask you about, is if you had been knowing about the Ninja Turtles. It wasn't like a, what is this?
No, I was living in Chinatown. I was living in this loft in Chinatown on Canal Street. And on the same block that I was living was an underground comic book store. And in this underground comic book store, I discovered the Ninja Turtles before I even had a tryout for it. Like it was, I remember reading it. It was black and white. And the only thing red in the comic book was blood.
And the mask, right?
And the bandanas. They all had red bandanas.
Mm-hmm.
And they were vicious. You know, they were like vigilantes, you know. So I knew about it. And so my expectation of what this was about, but I remember like you don't get the whole script for the audition, you know, you get
a piece.
Like a little 6 or 7 pages of some scenes, you know. And when I first read it, I was like, oh, this is like extremely goofy, you know. So, but you know, and I was just, I think, you know, I got lucky. Yeah. So.
Yeah, what a bizarre thing to have such massive appeal. Do you ever think about that? How strange the Ninja Turtles are as an idea, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then that everybody loved them, and I love them. But it's just a strange idea that it got so big.
It's such a strange idea, but if you know, it's like super creative, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like it's super creative. Like when they, you know, it's become something. You know, we've come such a long way. There's such a distance between then when like it was so fresh and it just, you know, hit the world's consciousness, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know, like it's, you know, it was just so I couldn't believe I remember, you know, doing fittings and, you know, where they're doing measurements and they're fitting like an arm on me, and they're, you know, at the Henson Creature Shop in London, this amazing warehouse space. And I would just like look over my shoulder and there's Falcor's head from Neverending Story, you know, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, you know, like, where am I? This is crazy, you know? And, you know, and like someone's like unpacking a Kermit in a tux out of a closet because they're going to have a photo shoot. I'm like, that's Kermit, you know? And, you know, it's just crazy. You know, you're just meeting people like, oh, that's Jane. You know, who's Jane? Oh, she's the one that designed Miss Piggy. Oh, really? What? You know,
cool.
You know, that kind of thing. And I remember when we were in North Carolina and the first time that we were all together in the suits for the first time without the heads, just the suits. And we were just going to have like some time, you know, to sort of walk, you know, to like be in character on like a wrestling mat and in this big sound stage. And they brought us each on our own like golf cart and they dropped us off and they left to get supplies or whatever. And I remember like just the four of us, they left us completely alone on this like wrestling mat in the middle of this sound stage. And I forgot, it was Josh or one of the guys like hit me. And he goes, "Did you feel that?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." And I hit him. And he goes, "I didn't feel that." And we just a brawl ensued, and we just started beating each other up and like, you know, like just body slamming each other, you know. And
I didn't think about that. Yeah, I guess you're in a big pad. So
yeah. There really was like 2 inches of muscle tissue, you know. And I remember thinking, oh, we're playing superheroes, like we're these Ninja Turtles. Like, this is out there. This is crazy, you know. But then we destroyed the suits. I mean, they made like 12 of these suits per turtle, right? But these particular suits, because of this brawl that we were having, we just suddenly heard this like, "Stop!" You know, we're like, huh? You know, and chunks of foam are falling out of our, you know, we like destroyed the suits and you know.
Oh no. Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. What was it like as far as the suit? So you have however many people running everything and you're in the scene. what's like a scene like for you during the movie? Like, what all is going on? What's the suit feel like? What are the machinations of it? Like, what exactly is all going on during a
All right,
scene?
So there's one of the very first thing that I shot, right, was with Michelangelo, and we're on the sewer waiting for the pizza, you know, and I don't know if you remember that scene in the first movie, and it's like, nice night, yeah. Hey, Mikey, you ever think about, you know, what Splinter said, you know, blah, blah, like and we're just sitting there, we're waiting for this pizza. And we rehearsed this thing, you know, all day for like 3 days or something like that. And why that is because it's a very subtle, it's not just running around and high-fiving, like the very subtle thing, because the eyes are independent of my head that I'm moving, you know, and you take for granted how your body works together just to a look to the left, you know.
Right.
And a breath that you take and and like you hear something and you turn away to think about that response. And it's very subtle movements that you have to be together with your puppeteer on the line, speaking in unison, breathing in unison, looking in unison. So he's moving the eyeball. And inside the head, I can hear these servos. There's all these servos that are working the mouth. And, you know, zzz, 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 you know, and the eyeball, zzz, 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 you know, and it's 360. They can do whatever they need to do with the eyeball. They can create different shapes with the lips. And the puppeteer has in one hand this like how he operates a puppet with his hand that's automatically sending signals to my mouth. And with the other hand, he's got this joystick that's controlling the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even with like a button to blink, right? And I'm breathing and giving it life, and I'm turning my head subtly, and you know. And Michelangelo, the guy Michelin Sisti, who's in this character, and his puppeteer are going through the same challenges, right? So it's the four of us with this very subtle. Anyway, I can hear servos. I have earphones on inside, and I can speak inside the head, the servos that are being operated, and we all can hear each other, right? Also in that grid is the director that can talk to us as well, right? So we have the four of us, the director, and we're all working together, going through the scene again and again and again. And it's amazing how, like, just, you know, if the eyeball is behind just a millimeter, like it's got to really hit, you know, and as actors, we're coming up with choices, like, you know, like that you take for granted if you don't have anything on, where it's like the character says something and you just want to think about it, and you like nod your head and you kind of look over there, and you're kind of making this choice where it's like looking inside your head for an answer, you know. It's a very subtle kind of scene, and all that stuff we would just perform without anything, just with our head and our eyes and our... Yes, honey? When you coming back? All right, cool, because I'm going to dance. Yeah. I'll see you when you get back. Take my car. Love you. Is everything all right? And so, you know, you're performing this. Is that going to be in the show? That's hilarious.
No, I'll take it out.
So, you know, and so you have so we all have to create, me and the puppeteer have to create this sort of choice that I have, just like as I am as a person, and put that into the mechanism of this Ninja Turtle. And they're doing the same thing. And then you have to throw in the element of just organic performing together. You know what I mean? Because like something happens when it's fresh and you're performing the scene, you might react in a way that's different just because it's an impulse that you've never had. Because as you're performing together and doing this scene, it grows and it evolves, and you come up with other ideas and then eventually you have to say, okay, this is what we're doing. And it's literally that scene, that's, I don't know, 30 seconds or something like that. There's, I don't know, like 100 choices that we're making that we have to hit all together,
Right.
And that's just that scene, right? So that to me is like the best way I can answer your question. It's like, we're on earphones, we're talking, it's like, headsets and these servos are moving and the puppeteer needs me to like hold a look so that he can adjust the joystick and get the mouth ready to say the line. It's like, it's amazing. We're just talking to each other constantly and, and cut, and then it's like game planning, like being in a huddle in a football game. Okay, you're going to do this and I'm going to do this and you're going to do this. And when you do this, I'll do this, but remember to do this, remember to hold, remember to breathe and stop here. And, like and you're going so fast. You're just like, because you're in that zone, and the director says, stop everybody. I need you, like when Misha says this line, the camera's going to move over here and you're going to, like you're just, and that's, and it's just like, it's 10 times what just a regular actor does, not to diminish, but, because you're just having to do so many other things to make this character come alive and be emotional and be in a moment, and listen to the other and react to the other person, and you have all these servos,
right,
and headsets. It's crazy. The process is like, it's so out there, It's
like if you had to mechanically choose to make your heart beat and breathe, like all the automatic things your body does, if you had to sit there and think about each one of them.
It's a great comparison, like that's exactly what it is, it's like, it's intense, and it's 120 degrees inside those things. You're sweating like crazy, you're surviving too. Like you're in a sauna doing this, and the only thing the one thing that's propelling you, that's giving you adrenaline, is because you're enjoying it. You're performing, you're creating, you're being an artist. That's what keeps you going, If you had to do this as punishment, it would
you die.
You know what I mean? Like it would just, you wouldn't survive, but you're just like into it, and when they do the playback after, and it's like, oh my God, we did that together. Like there's such a reward as you're going along too, and you're perfecting it. Like you're coming up with this, and that's the thing. Like we could have written a book on the technique of superforming and puppetry, we were developing the technique for all of this. We were creating a language of how to perform this kind of stuff. It was amazing. It was an incredible experience. When it ended, like after the first movie, in between the first movie and the second movie, I did a production of Waiting for Godot, this Samuel Beckett play at this big theater, with this renowned very serious experimental theater director, Joseph Chaikin, and I was playing Lucky, and I was playing like this 90-year-old man at the end of his rope, literally has a noose around his neck, and had all this makeup and this scraggly wig. And I really could actually applied a lot of that work I was doing in this Ninja Turtle movie to this sort of, this play, this very serious existential play about, loneliness and silence, And
Right.
you know, it was, and I would reflect on it like, Jesus Christ, you know, like, what am I doing? You know, like, you know, I have so much respect for people, you know, like I always wanted to meet Kevin Peter Hall, who did The Predator, you know, like.
I interviewed Ian White. He played the Predator in a few of the movies, actually.
Yeah, but the
And we talked
original
about the
guy
stuff.
is Kevin Peter Hall. And he was like
Yes.
7'2", thin black guy, and he also was Harry and the Hendersons.
Yes. I was trying to find him, but he's not reachable.
He died of AIDS.
Well, no, I know.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
know about that part. I knew he was dead.
He died of AIDS. Yeah.
Oh, no. I didn't know
Now-
about that.
Oh yeah, and I never, like, when I was doing this work after the first movie, and it was the very, because I did a lot more stuff after this. I did dinosaurs and I did gorillas and things like that. I really wanted to seek him out. You know what I mean? Because I really, you know, has such a respect. Because if you watch The Predator, the first Predator movie, he's amazing in that. He's amazing. And like, sometimes he just stands there and just the way he moves is like the choices he makes if you just watch The Predator, that is an amazing performance. It really is like uncanny. And and the same actor did Harry in Harry and the Hendersons, like a goofy Sasquatch character. And if you watch Kevin Peter Hall's performance in Harry and the Hendersons, like just watch it, like just amazing physical comedic performance, is sort of lanky, you know, like beautiful. It's like almost dance like, you know. And some of these, you know, like who played Gollum? Who's that guy? Who's that actor? Played Gollum? What's his name? Come on. Oh, we're gonna kick ourselves because wonderful actor. Like he was in Planet of the Apes. Like he does motion capture of those characters. But he's amazing. You know.
Man, knew it. I knew it until the second you said that.
All right, wait, hold on. Oh my. Hold on. Andy Serkis.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
Andy Serkis, like, I have so much respect for him and his early work. I know he's doing other things now and he's working as an actor, you know, but like his motion capture work, his Gollum and in Planet of the Apes, it's amazing. Amazing. A wonderful physical performer. I just have, you know, you can go on and on and on. I mean, I look at Daniel Day-Lewis and he doesn't do that kind of work, but he's a very physical performer. One of the things I love watching Daniel Day-Lewis is how his body's, he's such a full body performance, like amazing, his characterizations, you know. It's like Stanislavski wrote this book called An Actor Prepares, and they talk a lot about the physical and the body, which they don't teach a lot of actors nowadays. It's all like, you know, the method and
Right.
you know, Sandy Meisner, like, you know, just, you know, getting to a place of being authentic and raw listening. And, you know, it's not mine. You know, I know actors who are like super intelligent. Like, so there's some actors who are just so smart. You know, like I knew Phil Hoffman, Sam Rockwell. There's these Billy Crudup. These are very smart people. Like they're highly intelligent creatures, you know. And they break down scripts, and a lot of actors, like they break down the script, they get the script and they break it down, and they make like these intellectual choices, you know, like these choices based on, you know, and I think that a lot of acting, when I watch people that are very physical, you know, and doing the work myself, having to be physical, Because with the Ninja Turtles, it is physical. Like it's inside out. It starts with the body. And
Let me ask you this, because you're running into something that I wanted to ask you.
Go ahead.
So when you're playing Donatello, see, I'm colorblind, like nearly completely colorblind. So the masks don't help me that much because purple and blue are really similar and orange and red are really similar. So I'm having to look at their personalities to tell.
Are you really colorblind?
Yes, like very, very colorblind.
What's that color? What's that color behind you?
Well, I know this is green.
How do you know it's green?
Well, because I've been told that it's called green.
But you don't see green.
No, well, it's not like completely. It's a weird thing how it works, but so you have these cones in your eyes that receive the colors, and if you're colorblind, some of them are broken. So your brain takes the ones that do work and glues them together and makes something out of what you have left. So what I see may not be similar to what anybody else sees, but it's not just like black and white, but it's hard to differentiate between different colors. If it's a solid color like this or like this, I can tell. But if it's
you'll never know though. You'll never know what I see and what you don't. You'll never know that.
Well, I actually got colored contacts so I could see colors, and I had those for a little while. So I got to like a weird version of it for a while, but they
like
were
a hearing
still
aid
prototype.
Yeah.
So there were some problems with it, but I got to see it for a while, and it's a lot different than I thought it was. But what I was going to say is through your performance, because I'm colorblind, that's the only way I could tell who Donatello was. And so how do you perform in that way to give a creature their personality?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I didn't approach it like that. Josh Pais, who played Raphael, he really wanted to distinguish, and he had a little head start because Raphael is like this angry, kind of rebel, and he really wanted to distinguish Raphael with sort of like a characterization.
Right.
And if you look at that first movie, completely different person played Raphael in the second movie, and has a completely different physique. Raphael is completely different than the first Raphael. So if you really compare their performances, you will see what I'm talking about. Because you have a stunt guy playing Raphael in the second movie, and you have like a genuine actor playing Raphael in the first movie. Josh Pais is an amazing actor, amazing human being. Anyway, he approached it as like creating a characterization. I did not. I was just like in another head trip. I was all concerned about that that the turtle is perceived as alive. I would itch my shoulder, adjust the thing. I was constantly filling it with it'd wipe my brow, or like I had sweat on me, and I could feel the sweat, like the turtle could feel this, you know what I mean? I was more concerned about and also that he's, powerful and, and that he has this weight to him and he's muscular. But I was more in how is he, if my elbow is on this chair, I know that I can feel my elbow. I can feel that. I have nerve endings, you know what I mean? As opposed to being inside a suit. I was always focusing on where putting my nerve endings on the outside of its skin. I just took a lot of acid in college. So I was more concerned with that kind of thing, where Josh, Misha was about giving him energy, Michelangelo, and Leo, Dave Foreman, who was playing Leonardo, he seemed to be sort of like wanting to, because he's Asian English kind of dude, and great, amazing. This guy, the guy to play Leonardo, is an amazing person too. Like everyone talks about the guy that plays Michelangelo, Misha. They interview him a lot. Josh, he's this actor, and he's a very successful actor now. No one talks about Dave Foreman, but Dave Foreman was one of my favorites because he's a stunt guy. And I remember like when I was first in London doing fittings, and they were like, "Oh, this is, hey, you go check this out." Like, what is this? This is a commercial that the Henson Creature Shop did for something. I forget what it was. And we had to do a polar bear running across a glacier. They made this polar bear suit. And Dave Foreman was in the polar bear suit. And I wish I had a copy of it. I don't have a copy of it, but I could have sworn that was a real polar bear. It wasn't like this goofy costume that you see on the Super Bowl commercials of a gorilla shaking a Coke can. Like, it really looked like a freaking polar bear. It was amazing, and he had this very zen kind of quality about him. He was very still. There wasn't a lot of drama with David. He was just, David the man was just like this. He was just super chill. And so he was trying to give Leonardo this kind of super chill kind of, just it wasn't full of business. He would just fold his arms and just stare at you, and that was a great choice too. And because that really, if you watch Leonardo, there's a stillness about him. Michelangelo is kind of a goofy, a lot of energy. I think Donatello is just sort of kind of like a neurotic. He just kind of, in
his head.
In his head, and the guy who's playing Raphael is this guy. Hey, yo, what's going on, man? Hey, bro, gang signs. It's just like like a street punk, and it's great. Josh's performance is great. So, that's a very long-winded answer to your
no.
question.
So did you work with Brian Henson specifically?
Brian was there. Brian was directing Second Unit, and that was sort of it was kind of the co-directing Second Unit, because there was like a stunt coordinator that was sort of involved with how to shoot angles with the fight sequences, so it's like sort of like, I don't know if I think Brian just got the credit for Second Unit director, but there was a lot of people, like the whole Second Unit, like, was a whole other thing that we were involved in at times, because we were involved in some fight sequences. But
were you fighting?
If we had dialogue, but we had stunt doubles. Ernie Reyes Jr. was my stunt double. They brought in this skateboard guy to do the skateboard sequence.
That was a real skateboarder too, like a professional.
That was a real skateboarder,
like a famous one. He's in the Tony Hawk games.
Yeah. Super. I never met him, but yeah, he was, and so there was like it wasn't just me, there was like a lot of people involved,
Yeah. So were there any major issues with the suits and stuff that y'all had to figure out during shooting? Like, was there something like this guy's face fell off, or
Well, I mean, first of all, okay, so the original, because there's a computer that was
in the
shell, and these cords that led to all the different servos in the head, right? And the battery for our headsets, and and there were so many cords in the very beginning. It was very hard to sort of move your neck. So they streamlined that. I think by the second movie, we didn't actually have cords. I think it was wire signals that went to the servos, something. But
cool.
So, there was that. We tried cooling suits NASA came up from Florida and introduced these cooling suits that they give the astronauts. And that was like a nightmare. Like that did not like, like I remember we put these cooling suits on and then we put the Ninja Turtle suits over them. Yeah. And it was just like, it just made it hotter. And then, they couldn't they had to be plugged in to work. So we were like even more hot as we were working. And then we'd sit down and they'd like plug us in and they'd shoot this like cold water through these tubes in the suits. Like, and we would just like go, like it was, insane, like that didn't work, there was all kinds, I mean, there's so many stories, but yeah, they're constantly painting them and tweaking them and fixing them and,
So you said you'd collect comic books. Did you ever, surely you got some of the action figures, right? From the movie?
Oh, yeah.
You got some of that stuff?
Yeah.
Because I do anyway, but
I've either given or sold all of it. Like I don't have any of it anymore.
You need some. That's if I had done what you had done, I would just have all across my house.
It's funny. At one point I did. I mean, I had, when I left the first movie and when I left the second movie, I had a bundle of bow staffs, some that we used just for rehearsals, some that were just on the shelves, some that we used in the movie, some that we used in stunts and they were like rubber. Like I had, bandanas. I had one of the skateboards. I had.
What? You gave that stuff away?
Some I sold in auction. Some I sold on eBay. Some I gave away. To Make a Wish.
Well, that's nice. But the rest is unacceptable.
This kid of a producer, I gave one thing away. I sold some other stuff. And the same thing with dinosaurs. I had, Robbie's jacket, sneakers.
Yeah.
But like, I don't have any of that stuff. I think I have the first movie poster from the first movie. I think that's all I have left,
Wow. So when I was...
Oh, and the skateboard. I have the skateboard. I'll never get rid of it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. There's this company called NECA. Do you know who that is? They're a toy company.
No.
I believe they're relatively new, but they just came out with the movie Turtles, and they look exactly like the suits.
Oh, I want one of those. I'm going to get one of those.
You should.
How do you spell that?
NECCA. And
I'm gonna get on the website. NECCA, cool. Because that would be cool. If it looks like the turtle that I was working with, and then that would be cool to have. Yeah.
It looks exactly like it. And they have a 7-inch, and then they have like a fourth size of the entire suit. That's like this big, I believe. But it looks exactly the same.
I'd probably get a 7-inch. Yeah.
They've got one. They've got two, and I think they're going to come out with the third movie, but they have definitely Secret of the Ooze and the original Ninja Turtles. It's really, really cool. But,
nice. I like that.
But thank you very, very much for talking with me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. You're awesome.
I really enjoyed it. You are too. You're very interesting, and this is very, very cool to me because I'm a really big fan of the movies, so I really appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Where are you again?
New Orleans.
Oh, I was in New Orleans for Christmas. I was in the
Really?
French Quarter. My sister my sister and her husband have like a place in the French Quarter. They live in Houston, but they have a place in New Orleans. So we spent Christmas in New Orleans. It was like so freaking cold.
Yes, I know. I'm a MC for one of the clubs on Bourbon Street called Razoo. And like I have my own show.
Oh.
So I do my show about 4 nights a week, and then I do this type of stuff. So pretty fun stuff. And I'm an actor also. Like I've done a few things. But that's
Awesome.
another reason I like to talk to people like you,
Yeah.
because I'm in the mass communication department for the Screen Actors Guild here.
Okay.
And so one thing that I always ask in closing is advice for new actors, because some of the people from the Screen Actors Guild watch this, and like, what advice do you have for new actors?
Well, I mean, I think like the best advice I could give is, you know, like I lived with Sam Rockwell many times. We were like, we met on the first Ninja Turtle movie, and we just ended up being like best buds for the, you know.
What was he doing? What was he doing in the Turtle? What was Sam Rockwell doing in there?
He was head thug number 2 or something. Head thug number 1.
What?
He's the guy that goes regular or menthol.
Huh?
You don't remember that?
I do. I didn't know that was him for some reason.
Sam Rockwell and Skeet Ulrich are in the opening sequence when they attack April.
What?
April O'Neil.
I had no
You know when
idea.
April O'Neil is mugged in the
Yeah.
beginning? That's Sam Rockwell and Skeet Ulrich.
I did not register that for some reason.
Well, you have to
Wow.
go. You have to rewind it anyway. So, and Sam is like the genuine article. Like he even back then he was an actor. Like he was just in his blood. And the best advice, just observing him, he really, that's all he wanted to do. He really, you know, like he's a best example that I can think of in terms of someone succeeding at what they want to do, is because he kept his eye on the prize, like all day, all night. He wanted to be an actor, and he did everything he could to, and like all day, like he would read every day. He would do something, not just one thing, but every day do something towards, not like the business of acting, not like go meet a casting director, you know, like this. I think a lot of people just get like so crazy with like, I need an agent. I need, you know, no, like he was reading plays. He carried this book, this copy of Hamlet with him all the time. He was going to plays, reading plays. He was always acting, like he was working on his craft every day, just like a musician does. Just like a musician picks up the guitar and they do their scales and they learn and they work on it and they work on it. And I think a lot of actors don't really work on their craft every day. And that's what he did. He worked out, he went to the gym. He was like, it was just in him. Like you could tell he was talking to himself, going over a scene from like some De Niro movie he saw, you know, and just like he was just he wanted to be an actor. Like he was, and he would just always want to be acting. He would do these small plays in New York. He would always be doing something towards his craft. And I think, like, for instance, Stephen King wrote this book about writing, and it's called On Writing. It's an amazing book. And he says in the book, the secret to writing is writing.
Yeah, do it.
It doesn't matter. Don't get precious about it. Even Stephen King says like 90% that I write is awful. You know, like don't be just keep doing it.
Right.
Don't get precious with it. You know, just make things, act. You know, do a character in the mirror every day. Do something. You know, like if that's really what you want to do, and that's the other point is like, is it really what, if you're wanting to be an actor, someone wants to be an actor, do you really want to be an actor? Because I lived with a guy that really wanted to be an actor, Sam Rockwell, and believe me, he did. He authentically did, because that's all he wanted to do. He didn't veer off. He didn't care about having the new iPhone. He didn't care about anything else. He didn't care about clothes. He didn't care about shopping. He didn't care about Amazon. He didn't care about social media. He still doesn't. He just wanted to act. That's why he became a successful actor, you know, because he put all his eggs in one basket. Like he wasn't distracted with the things that people get distracted with, with like having a new car, like all the that people get distracted with, get me included, what we're all guilty of, like he just wanted to be an actor and he did it, and it's like, that's my, here's, and he's not the only one. Like you hear like James Dean studying acting with like Lee Strasberg, and, the class ended and he's still in class. He goes out in the street with his scene partner and they're doing the scene on the street, and they go to a diner and they're doing the scene at the diner. Like it doesn't stop. You know what I mean? Like acting is not just in the class.
Right.
It's not just in your head dreaming about hopefully having a house on Lake Como like George Clooney. No, it's actually like doing it.
Right.
All the time.
You can read, you can watch, study people, you can, write
study
stuff.
People, watch movies, recreate
people.
Recreate the scene, watch people, talk to people, interact with people, be at the diner and go, hey man, what's going on? How you doing? Is that meatloaf good? Interact with characters,
Right.
like that, you know what I mean? Like read poetry, be, like educate yourself, be a better human being, go to a therapist, have some self-awareness. If you don't know who you are, how are you going to play another person? Like all of that. Sam's been in therapy for 35, 40 years. He's had the same therapist, like it's important. Like know who you are, know what humanity is, be mindful, take care of yourself, be healthy.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, you want to be an actor? Then okay. How dedicated? My question to you is, how dedicated are you really?
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. I like that. Some of those things I have not really thought about before, what you said. So that was very interesting and good. I like it.
Who am I? Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm really glad that we could get together, and I've had a really good time talking.
And maybe we'll meet in person someday.
I would absolutely love that.
Right.
Let me know.
And I want to see your movie when it's done. I want to see it.
Okay, you got it.
And send me the info on your swag, because I'm going to get that hat. I'm
just going to give you one.
I'm going to donate towards your cause.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, man.
Have a good night. Get you some dinner.
Peace out.
See you later. Bye-bye.